Hello, everybody. I hear our song in my head before we come on. Welcome to Hot Topics. That's not the song. That's a totally Janelle original, but
I love it.
I'm figuring out how to put the music on the YouTube videos and like fade them in and out so that they look kind of like somebody did something to them.
Nice.
I don't know. I feel like I'm in like AV club and I'm like, look what I can do. But welcome everybody to Hot Topics. You just heard the cool song and now you're hearing our cool voices. And
Yes.
I'm Janelle.
And I'm Rebeka.
And we have an extra special guest if you're watching on YouTube. There's the cutest.
This is Chazzy.
It's a she, right?
Yes.
She is so chill and she's just been laying there the whole time we've been talking our pre-game.
Yes, this is my friend's pup. I'm dog sitting and she is burrowing. She actually usually likes to burrow under blankets. Like she'll hide and swirl around.
Watch her.
So funny.
Yeah.
She's hilarious.
She's a YouTube special guest if you're watching on YouTube. This is a special treat you get.
Yes.
I love doggies. All right, so welcome to Hot Topics of Human Design. If you haven't listened to us before, we just like to talk about human design in a way that feels right to us and expansive to us and inclusive to everybody as much as it can be.
Yes, and maybe present a little bit different perspectives on some things.
Yeah. And we're going to have guests. I don't know what order these are coming out in. Maybe we've already had a guest. Who knows? We're going to be out so soon. I'm so excited, by the way. I'm like very excited for this to come out.
Me too.
Like, just you wait, people. Wait, you're here now. So you've waited long enough. Hooray.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. And today's hot topic is, it's such a hot, I'm so happy about it. We're going to talk about dating, y'all.
Dating. Yay! Especially
Woo!
Dating as a mental projector, because what is that?
Yeah. And Rebeka has so wonderfully decided to offer herself up to the dating gods and goddesses of the universe and put herself back out there to meet humans in real life.
Yes.
Your face says it all.
I'm trying to not
see it, guys.
Like throw up right now. I always get so nervous about it. I'm like, the whole time I was setting up my profile with my friend, I was like, you do it, I'm gonna throw up.
Yeah. And I mean, I can only imagine that dating is probably hard. We'll start with this little sidebar of I've been married with my husband for 9.5 years, married for 6.5 years. So I have not dated. And he was the only person that I'm romantically involved with when I moved to Colorado. I never dated anybody else in Colorado. So I'm old and dusty and I am not really in this game as much as, well, not as much as at all. I mean, when we get into later episodes of this series and we talk about like dates and like things that I can do, then that will be great. But I am so excited to focus more on Rebeka and the dating shenanigans of a 1-3 mental projector. Oh, it's going to be so good. So why don't you tell everybody like a quick overview of your relationship life so far so they know where you're at.
Yeah. So I've started and then I was like, wait. I've been divorced for over 10 years now from my kid's dad. But growing up, I literally like every single year, even from kindergarten, no, probably preschool. My mom said when I was in preschool, I came home one day and told her that JT was now my husband. I have no idea who JT is. But every year, like I could tell you who my boyfriend was from kindergarten all the way
Taylor
through.
Thomas. It can't be Justin Timberlake because you were that. I wasn't.
He wasn't famous yet.
I'm guessing it's Jonathan Taylor Thomas because that's who I was in love with.
My gosh, my friend was obsessed with JT.
I can't think of another T. That's what I'm saying. Either you left the T out and just called him JT because you guys were married.
Preschool.
Oh, so it's a person. It's a kid you knew in school.
Yes.
Oh, okay. JT, if you're listening, Rebeka had a huge. And that's where it all started.
Yes, yes. So I would always have boyfriends. And looking back though, I'm like, I don't even know if I really wanted that or if I just thought I was supposed to. It feels more like I thought I was complete if I had a boyfriend, like somebody liked me, so then I
Oh
was
yeah.
okay,
Yeah. Yes.
And
Classic.
then met my kid's dad as a sophomore in high school. And
Whoa.
yeah, yeah. We were together for 15 and a half years, married for 10 and a half of those. So it makes sense when you think about like it took me quite a while to heal from that one because I was with him for all my formative years. It was
Yeah.
wild. And then so after him dated a little bit, I whole other episode for that one. I dated a little bit. We'll just keep it at that. And
Anything
I
serious in that time?
I was married for about a year
So
once
yeah.
after that. And
So she
then
was married after she was married. She's been married. You've been married
yes,
twice. Okay.
been married and divorced twice, and I've been divorced officially from that guy for 4 years now. So I dated a little bit after that as well, but I've also discovered human design shortly or around that time. And so I started to really understand how I was operating from the not self and
Mhm.
where I was kind of seeking completion in other ways or figuring out like trying to think I just needed somebody else to take care of me. That's basically what it was. I couldn't
Yeah.
take care of myself. I didn't know how to do that. I wasn't equipped for this world, so I needed somebody else in order to survive is
Yeah.
basically where it was. And so I cut myself off about 2.5 years ago, maybe 3 years now. And I was like, no, we're learning how to swim on our own for a little bit. We're not doing this codependent nonsense anymore. So
So
that
it's been
basically
that
brings us
long
up to
since then?
now.
Oh,
What's
it's been that long since you've been on a date?
yes, it's been which surprises me because it went by so fast. Like I literally, it's not like I missed it. It's just I was talking to a friend. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's been like 3 years. And she's like, okay, let's go. It's time to get on
I
an
mean,
app.
serious stuff happened in the world and stuff was happening with you. It's not really that long of a time, but I can understand how now you're just like, ugh. Now I have to try it again.
Yes.
Ah, no, I know. And now that you know human design, does that change like your picks, like who you pick?
Yes. Yes. It's been interesting because I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go with invitation. But at first, like I get curious. I've really noticed the curiosity taking over, right? And
Your
so
one
I'll go through
line
the
in
matches and
the
I'll
1156, yeah.
yes, exactly. So for the first couple of days, I would go through like options and send someone likes or something. And then I realized like, okay, this is an invitation though. Like that, like how does that work? I want to play with that, if they can't invite me if they don't know I'm here. So is it okay that I do that? So I just played with it and I sent likes or I sent messages, and zero of the people that I initiated the likes with would come back and like me back or send me a message or anything. So I was like, okay, cool. That makes so much sense. So I would only respond to people who sent me a like at first. But then I started getting clear about I would only respond like if somebody just sent me a like, I would reject them. But if they sent me a message that was actually thoughtful, then I would respond to that.
That makes sense.
And I was like, oh, that's how you play with the invitation here.
Yeah.
Instead of like before, like I mean, I've been on dating apps once or twice in the past when I was more not grounded. And it was like a very much like, oh my gosh, do you like me? Are you my husband? Are you my husband? Like, what's going on? I got to like everybody in order to see what's going on. And now I'm like, no, you're probably a fake person. Go away.
Yeah.
You didn't actually message me. No.
Yeah.
It's been nice where I feel I'm more myself and I'm not putting my worth in some random person's hands.
Yeah. Yeah. When I moved here, like 3 weeks into it, I was lonely. And so I joined Tinder. This was, like I said, almost 10 years ago. And that's how I met Sean. And I
I
don't
don't think I
really
knew it was on
remember,
Tinder.
I don't really remember like the messaging we had, but I remember when I got here, I was like, I'm not dating anyone seriously. That's too complicated. I need to figure out who I am and like make friends and all this other stuff. And so I was very like, I just wanted company. Like I wanted to go out on dates. Like I wanted to go do fun things. I had never been here before. I was by myself. Like I just wanted to have some fun in the city of
Yeah.
Denver. And so I just remember, yeah, he messaged me. We messaged each other back and forth, but he was like serious. I remember him saying like he was looking for a relationship. Like that was one of the things I remember him saying to me. And we talked for like 2 weeks before we met. I remember that because I like had all these fake rules I needed to have for how long we needed to talk and how many dates we had to go on and all this other stuff. But it was like, it was just, we met at a bar. We both don't drink very much, and we met at a bar because we didn't really know what else to do. And I spilled a full beer all over the bar. Pretty much right as soon as we met. And I was like grabbing bar towels and cleaning it up. And I just felt like such a weirdo. But he didn't care. And yeah, he was like looking for somebody, like to be in a relationship. He'd been out of his last relationship for over a year. And he just was ready. Every time I think about like relationships, there's this line in Sex and the City, forget who says it, it's probably Miranda, where she says men are like cabs. They drive around their whole life picking up people and dropping them off and picking up people and dropping them off, but when their light is on, they're ready.
Yes.
And that's when they start picking up people seriously, is when they decide. And you can't, they won't really get serious. And I don't think this is just men, I think this is people in general. They won't get serious until they're like, okay, now it's time for me to have serious relationships. But for me, I went in like that going, this isn't the time, this isn't the time. But it just, I don't want to sound like cliche or cheeseball, but it very much happened without me realizing what was going on.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, this is way too easy. Like, what's happening here? But yeah, so the dating app thing, I understand. I did it when I was in California too, and it was interesting. But I totally get what you mean. It's like you're looking for validations from somebody to like you or send you a message, and how long does it take them to respond, and what do they say? What do their pictures say about them? All these things. And but I think because I feel like you're much more decisive now. So when you meet them, it'll be easier.
Yes.
You're like, yes, no. No.
Yeah, I'm real curious because so far the conversations have been easy. Like that weeds things out too. Because there's also the guys who like their profile, it's like they're models and they're just, like the picture's so high quality. It had to have been from something, right? And he's got his 6-pack abs and he's like, I just like lounging on the beach. Like, no, you don't. You're not a real person. But like some of them will send me a message. They're like, oh my gosh, you smile so beautiful, rose emoji. And like, whereas in the past I might have fallen for it, but now I'm like, okay, let's test this out. So I tested a few out. I'm like, oh, thank you. You're so sweet. And then immediately they're like, can I have your number? Because I want to get to know you better. No, you can talk to me easily on this app.
Yeah, totally. So do the people that you have dates planned for, do they know about human design, that this is what you do?
No, they've asked, and so I'll tell them that I teach love and healing through human design, and I don't go too into it. I figure I'll let them ask more questions, and it's hard on the app because so far we've just been on the app, and I'm not like trying to move forward. I've established dates with 3 dudes. 2 of them offered me their number, and they were real sweet. They're like, hey, I would love to move off the app and chat with you. Here's my number, but 0 pressure. Like we can still chat here if you want, but if you want to move over. And I thought that was really nice. So I'm sure there'll be more discussion when we're in person, but it's different when you don't really know the person and you're just texting. But I will send voice notes. That's the other thing.
Yeah, that's
Um,
helpful, because then I feel like voice notes are a lot more genuine and heartfelt, and you can hear people's voice. And
yes.
I like to do that too with my clients, not dates, but like when I'm going to do readings with people, I'll send them voice notes so they can tell like I am excited and I am into like reading about this. I am interested in this. It's not just like typewritten words. And then it also feels
Yeah.
like they're a real person, because if you hear their voice. Have you heard any of their voices?
Hmm.
Do you know anything? Can you tell anything?
Well, that's part of why it's been able to progress. That was another one of my hacks. So if anybody is a mental projector out there, they would send me a message. So then I'd write back, but then I would send a voice note real quick. Just be like, hey, just wanted to send a voice note, say hi, thanks for the message, hope you're having a good day. And then if they voice note me back, then that's a good sign, right? So these dudes would voice note back and just chat, and they're real easy, and they would ask me questions like about me and tell me stuff about them. So all three of them seem very different, so I'm curious to see how, like, I'm just curious.
Like you're going on a dating game show. I forget what
I
it's
know.
called. The one where they're like behind the curtain. I forget what it's called, but
Oh yeah, is it just the
there's
dating
like
game?
three, maybe, yeah. And then you pick. I think there's three. So, well, this will be fun. And so this is kind of like a pre-episode, because we're going to talk about all this stuff as well, as much of it as you want to talk about. We'll talk about. But we also wanted to touch on the fact that human design has something to say about dating, not human design itself, but a lot of people who are into human design. And I know that there's even apps out there that are like dating apps that are like Manifestor plus Generator, yay. But the reason that there isn't a human design dating app is because there's no way to get down to what you would need to look at in the mechanics of a chart to decide if perhaps this would be helpful for you in a relationship with another person who is like this. Like, it's not like if you have this and then you have this, then you're great. Like, it doesn't, it doesn't go that way. It's more like saying, well, this is your strengths or your superpowers, and these are your challenges, and these are theirs. And how can you, look at them with compassion and grace when they do stuff that's part of their design or part of their conditioning or whatever. And how can you have them do the same to you? It's like, it's not, you don't click and become like relationship. Even when people are like 9-0, I'm like, okay, that's cool, right. But it doesn't mean that you're going to be good at a relationship. It just means that you make all the 9 centers colors.
Yes, I know. There's so much that goes into it, because what channels are y'all connecting? Who's compromised where?
What's your conditioning? What's their conditioning? What's your profile? What's your incarnation cross? Like, so much stuff comes into play. And a lot of people will like to say that, this type should date this type. I've heard a lot that it's better if non-sacrals are with non-sacrals and sacrals are with sacrals, just because they're familiar with their energy give and take.
Yes. I mean, that kind of makes sense to me, especially my kid's dad is a generator. And so I would think about how I would try to keep up with him, and I didn't realize it, but I look back like, man, I was kind of exhausted, but I didn't know I was. So that makes sense. But I think as long as you're communicating and you both honor each other's stuff, then it's not a big deal. It's just about, here's my user manual and here's your user manual. Yeah. Let's talk about it and work together and not take things personally.
And I can think of where there would be pitfalls with just sacrals dating, and specifically just non-sacrals dating, because there's no energy. Like, I mean, maybe your charts combine and you define motors or whatever, but you're both coming in this as non-sacrals, so I feel like it would be harder to get up. I just see people who like never leave their house, I guess, which is not a good that's not very PC human design speak, people, because non-sacrals have plenty of energy to do life. It's just inconsistent. So I guess maybe navigating the inconsistency of your, I don't know. My husband is generator, and I totally 1,000,000% agree with what you said. Before I learned about human design, I always felt like I was trying to keep up with him, and he wasn't walking very fast. Like, he's very casual. He's 2-4. He's a very casual person in his talk and in his, unless he's arguing with Love Island on TV when he gets really pissed off. But otherwise, he's a pretty chill guy, and he like, it's like you're running as fast as you can next to someone who's just like casually sauntering down the street, and they're looking at you like, why are you trying so hard? And you're just like, hey, so how's your day? Oh, great. And it's like, I noticed it before I knew about human design. I noticed it that I would just feel more tired. And I was like, oh, it's because he has a dog, and now I have to deal with this responsibility that I wasn't used to, and blah, blah, blah. But I think what it really was is my non-sacral, but he is really like, he is very supportive of it, almost too much, to where I feel like he thinks that's what he should do too, is rest a lot and not like use a lot of his energy, and be really careful about where he uses his energy.
Okay.
Which, this is interesting for a couple reasons. One is he has a sacral motor, so he should be using it out during the day, and him trying to hold energy back kind of doesn't make a lot of sense. But he's also 6 undefined centers. So for him to feel protective of his energy and to be like, after we've been out, sometimes stuff is a lot for him too. I understand why it is.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I look at him sometimes and I'm like, you're the generator. Like, you should be doing more stuff. Which is not true. This is not true. Like, generators are here to do what they love. But I think sometimes he really looks at my projector like rest and is like, I don't know if it's jealousy or if it's just like, I'm gonna do that too. And then I just find us like resting together, and I'm like, all right, whatever.
Well, you know, it's funny because my kid's dad's a 2-4 sacral generator, and he would always take a nap. Like, he'd be the first to lay down and take a nap and get the rest whenever he needed to rest. And I'd be so annoyed, like, especially back in the day, right? I'm like, there's so much to do. Why my undefined root is like, how can you rest? There's all this stuff that needs to be done. Yeah. So I feel like that's part of the wisdom of the sacral too, though. It's like, oh no, it's time to chill so that I can do my thing.
Yeah. And in my head, I'm always wondering, I'm like, when you're relaxing, are you thinking about all the shit that you're supposed to be doing at this very moment when you're relaxing? Probably. And I haven't asked him that, but I have a feeling his answer is no.
Yeah.
It's like, what are you even not like? What?
It's like, why would I think about that? I'm resting.
Video games, or we're out walking the dog. Like, why would I think about what we're having for dinner? And I'm like, because I think about it the moment I wake up. Like, okay, what's happening here?
Let's outline the day.
We've talked about my 5. I wonder if maybe we should have an episode where we look at our charts and pick like maybe 1 or 2 pieces that we feel like overwhelmingly we see time and time again. Big 5. Like,
yes,
you see it with me so much. I see it with myself, and I'm like, I want to let it go. I want to be like, it's cool. We don't have to have this, but it's almost like it's an unconscious reaction for me to plan and have like, even just like a loose outline. And that's what I tell myself. I'm like, well, you're a mental projector, so you just have a loose outline. And it's like, actually, you do better with no outline. So it's like maybe we should do one. Okay, I digress. So when you were like building your dating profile, did you think about like your design as you're writing the words, as you're making, like describing yourself?
Um, no, now that you think about it, I think I chose questions that I didn't have to describe myself that much.
Oh yeah, because do you have to write words, or do you just pick like?
They have prompts, and you can pick, they have so many prompts.
Huh.
And I did one as like, what was the biggest risk you took? And I answered with a voice note. So you can type or you can answer with a voice note. And I talked about quitting my job and starting my business. And I answered, one was like a random fact that I love. And I said that one cannot lick their own elbow, because I think that's funny. And then I was trying to imagine, I was like, if it were me and I read that, I'd be like, wait. And so I like imagine all these guys scrolling through.
But they'll remember you for that, for sure. They'll be like, that's
Yes.
the bitch who tried to get me to lick my elbow.
Well, and
Let's
one of
go
the
have
guys,
margaritas.
yes, because one of the guys I'm going with, he messaged me. He's like, no matter how many times I see that, I keep trying to lick my own elbow. I don't know what that says about me.
Oh, everybody does when they see stuff like that. That's
I
so
know, right?
That
And
is
then I
interesting
just,
though. You picked kind of stuff that's not impersonal because you did the voice note, which is the voice is very personal. I think that's cool because you're defined throat in 1156. So it's like, hey, this is actually a big piece of me that you're hearing my voice. I mean,
yes,
if they really looked at you up, they could find you because you're famous and you have podcasts and YouTubes and things and TikTokeries, and they would find it all, and then they would see your face and hear your voice. But I do think that the voice thing is really like, even if the questions, or if you didn't say personal things, hearing your voice is very personal.
there's just something about the frequency of that, I guess, that
Yeah.
is so impactful. So
That was not a part of when I was on Tinderoni 9 years ago. That was not a part of it. You just typed.
yeah, I feel like that part's fairly new.
Yeah, but I like that. I hope so. Yeah, if anyone else is doing the dating thing, if you're having trouble connecting, or maybe other people are having trouble connecting to you, put yourself out there by leaving a voice note. Because I don't think that that's like you like not waiting for an invitation at all. That is you making yourself visible, which is what the
Exactly.
projector is here to do, is make themselves visible and then wait.
Oh my gosh, that's such a, yes, this is like a great visual of the recognition invitation, because we have to recognize ourselves first, right, in order to show up in the appropriate way to get the correct invitations. So yes, when you're filling out the profile, it's like, oh, I have to recognize myself. And
so maybe include some stuff that you're like, I don't know, if you don't want to do your voice, if that sounds too scary, maybe include like 1 or 2 things that feel a little halfway personal, because I know it's hard to be vulnerable, but that way you're like visible. You're like, look, I'm actually being really visible for you guys. Because I feel like when you see the people that are possibly fake, but even if they're not fake, their visibility is surface, and you're just like,
yes, like if someone just has pictures and didn't answer any questions, that's a no.
Well, yeah, of course. So yeah, just, it's hard to be vulnerable, but it's not the same as like not waiting for the invitation or bypassing the invitation, like putting yourself out there. And this is in all aspects of life as a projector. Putting yourself out there is not the same as not waiting for the invitation or bypassing invitations. You can't be seen by the people that are supposed to see you unless you put yourself out there in some way, make yourself visible in a way that's comfortable for you.
Yeah.
But Rebeka and I podcasts are a big one. I was looking at my podcast the other day and I have like 50 episodes, and I was like, whoa. And then we have like, however, probably the same amount, maybe half of weather report.
Yeah.
And then we already have now 6 or 7 hot topics. And it's like, wow, I've done so many podcasts. I'm so comfortable speaking.
Yes, which makes so much sense for us, right? With our 1156, it's like, that's what we're here to do, is to share and to talk. So
yeah. And I was not comfortable before with speaking. I just didn't think I had anything to say. And I just kind of decided I didn't care if I didn't have anything to say. I was like, actually, I don't care, because people can make the choice to listen or not. I'm not like forcing myself on other people or down people's throats,
Yeah.
which is the example of not waiting for the invitation, of offering unsolicited advice and just jamming yourself in there, which I thought was hysterical when I did that whole November 8th birthday thing. And it was like, you would rather give advice than take it. I was like, no shit. Obviously, I'm a projector. What do you want from me? But
I know
like,
that was interesting. Yeah. Yeah. Well, with the dating app too, like one guy messaged me, he voiced on me. He's like, tell me something, or tell me two of your favorite things about yourself, like intellectually or inwardly, right? Not like physically. And before that would have really stressed me out. Be like, I can't answer this. Like, I can't talk to this guy. Like, I don't know. I have nothing. I have nothing. But now it was super easy. I just like thought about my design. I was like, oh, my curiosity and my intelligence. And
yeah,
it was real easy to answer. I'm like, this is great.
yeah, because human design gives you confidence in yourself, because you can, it shows you all the pieces and parts of you that you knew were there, but were like really muddy. And now you see them clearly and you go, oh, this and this. And I'm sure if he would have said 5 things, you could have come up with 5 things right off the
Yeah.
top of your head. And that's part of why I love it too, because it helps you to see all of these things. And so when people have that question, because I'm the same way, if someone was like, think about like attributes that are not physical, I don't know, I would say my kindness and my silliness, but
Mhm.
I feel like I would need to go, that still feels kind of like goofball-y. I don't know. You know
Well,
me,
it might feel
I'm not really deep when it comes to like emotional stuff, but I know that there's other things. But I do like my zany attitude, and I used to be very like, that's too, people don't like that, it's too much, like reel it back, you need to be serious, and your voice gets too loud, what about this, and your hands go too flaily when this happens. And then I was like, oh shit, actually, because
yeah, like who
I'm
cares?
yeah, and it's not only, there's parts of my design that say these things, skate 58, innocence, motivation, like all the stuff
Mhm.
that says like you're kind of supposed to be like that, like enjoy life outwardly with your body.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was very difficult for me to not think that that was like naive. Like that's part, you know what is really funny, remember how I told you my mom used to say like pick something or everybody influences you? She also used to tell me I was really naive when I was growing up. She's like, you're so naive, you're just
Oh.
really naive. And I was
Hmm.
like, well, what does that mean? Like, what do you mean I'm naive? Like, I'm nice? I'm too nice? And that was the other thing. When I was really little, before I knew what naive means, she would say, you're too nice.
Oh my gosh.
So she's like, you're too nice to people. You're too nice, too nice, too nice, too nice. Which is not incorrect, because there's a lot of conditioning around the undefined heart that can make a person really try hard to prove themselves, which comes off as too nice.
Yeah.
And the undefined emotional center, which just amplifies everybody's emotions, and you're like, no, the best way to stop this is by being really nice.
Yes. Just keep
So
yourself small and nice and everybody will be
yeah, people
happy.
please, that's a big part of the undefined emotional centers conditioning, is people pleasing. And so I recognize what she was trying to say, I just don't think it was very helpful, because then it just put me in this headspace that kindness and niceness are the same, and
Mm.
they're not really. Like, kindness, it still takes care of you, you're kind to me anyway. Kindness is you're outwardly kind to other people, but you're also kind and respectful to yourself.
Yes,
And
you still have boundaries. That's a big
yeah,
part of it, I
and
think.
the niceness, the overly niceness, is spinning your wheels and trying to figure out how many ways you can be kind to another person and respect their boundaries. Like, how much can you do it? And I realize now what she was trying to do and trying to say wasn't a real great way to teach people, but it was the 80s, so who knows.
Yeah, there wasn't much compassion in the 80s.
Yeah, but I had to really realize that I could still be a kind person and a nice person to other people, but also like not be naive, which I don't really like that word, because I don't know. I don't necessarily know if I feel like it's too, it can go both ways. Like, I don't want to say negative and positive because I don't like to think that about words, but I feel like it can be taken both ways, depending on if you're a male or a female. So
Yeah. Well, and I like people would say that to me too, and I would just feel so bad about myself, and I hated it because I'm like,
it
I
feels like
don't
a
feel
bad
like,
one, huh? It's like,
yeah, I'm like, I don't think that's my fault. Like, if I don't know something, I just haven't experienced it yet. And why are you getting mad at me for it, or judging, or like acting like I'm less human because I don't
yeah,
have this information?
it feels like a strong judgment to pass the
Mhm.
word naive. I agree. It's like it's like, are you sure you want to go there? Like, that's just a strong word.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I had to like figure that out about myself, that like I actually enjoyed the fact that I'm pretty kind and non-judgmental to other people without it being like, well, that's just because you're too nice, or you just let people walk all over you, or you people please, so
Yeah.
you want everybody to like you. And that's where that comes from. It's like, well, actually, I'm just nice. I'm just a kind person, and I would rather be kind than be any of the other things. So can I
Yeah.
just be that without? And now it's one of the things about myself that I like the most, is that I know that in general, I'm a kind person. I'm not the nicest person. Believe me, I have judgments about people, and I say some pretty mean shit, mostly in my head. But for the most part, I lean towards, like, if we're in the car and we're driving and somebody is like driving really, really, really slow, or something else that's driving him insane, I think, well, what's going on with that person that they're acting that way?
Right. That's what I think. I'm like, I don't know them. I don't know their life.
Yeah.
So
I mean, maybe they're too old and they shouldn't be driving. Great. I'm going to say back then, because I'm going to keep myself safe, or maybe any of these other things. But it all amounts to, I'm going to just relax and let them do their thing. And
yeah.
it's like, close can I get to them without hitting them? And that like drives me bananas. That's one of the things that we have that's like one of the like, and I tell myself this all the time, that this is the worst, one of the worst things you have with your husband, is that he's an aggressive driver and I'm a passive driver. Okay, like,
Yeah.
oh well, that's just how it is. Like, and I want to point that out for you as a new relationship person and everybody else. Like, there's some things that might be on your like no way list, or what's it called? That's not called a no way list. What the hell is it called? Like deal breakers. Yeah,
Oh,
that. You might have deal breakers that are not like legit. Like when you meet the person and you go, oh, I needed them to have hair and this person's bald. Oh, well, who gives a shit? Like, there's going to be things that you really think are deal breakers, And then you meet the person and you're like, ah, so he doesn't put his socks where they are supposed to go. Oh, well. Like, he's really nice to me and kind and respectful and makes me laugh.
yeah.
Makes me laugh like nobody else. That was the one thing.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's what I can hope for. Like, I want to laugh all the time.
That was the one thing, is throughout the day, he'll make like a corny ass joke, or he'll say something stupid, or he'll smack my butt, or like he'll just do something that pulls me out of my ajna throat combo.
Yes.
And like makes me remember like that life is not that serious. So it's actually very helpful. And I can tell when he's upset or not in a good mood when he hasn't made jokes to me. I'm like, why hasn't he like picked on me or made a funny joke, or like or like called me a bird, because I like to watch the birds and stuff, and just like little like rag on you stuff that you do. Like if he hasn't done it like in the morning, the whole morning, I'm like, what's happening? And I'll know he's
Like,
kind
what's
of like
wrong?
in a bummer mood. And then as soon as he makes like a joke, I'm like, yes, we're back. Like I know what his moods are by his how much he like makes silly jokes with me. So
Yeah.
and when we first started dating, he used to like get like pans of cold water and dump them on my head when I was in the shower and like do like these random like light practical jokes to me. And it irritated me because I was like, what? Especially if I wasn't washing my hair that day. Oh, that was not good.
I would be
Your
so
face.
mad.
I know, but most of the time it was funny, and I would laugh, and like it would be cute little funny things, and I was like, this means he really likes me. Like if he's trying to like play around and like if we're having fun, like before we got married and stuff, I was like, oh, this means that he really likes me if he's like doing all this funny shit, or else he wouldn't care. Like, so
Yeah.
that was the main thing when we first met was he made me laugh a lot. I think that was like the main thing is he just makes me laugh. Whoa, and they pulled out my headphones. So I feel like you'll know when you not when you meet the person, but I feel like you know when you meet a person that makes you laugh in a way that you're like almost like cringy because they're like dorky jokes and you're like, oh god, that one was kind of whatever. Or they take it a little too long and you're like, but you're still kind of laughing at it. That's when you're like, oh, I actually kind of like this person. I'm not saying that is like the person, but that's a good like green check because
Yes.
even if their stuff isn't that funny and you're like, well, you laugh a little because you know they're trying to make you laugh. Like they're putting an effort. So you're like, I probably should give them a little bit of something because they really want me to laugh. They want me to smile. They want me to have positive endorphins running through my body. So might as well. Is there anything else that you wanted to touch on as a mental projector and dating that you might have noticed or that you might have, I don't know, anything?
I don't know. Well, one thing that hit me with this app, like, it's just so much more responding, like another thing to respond to. Like someone liked you, go look and see if you like them back. Like, and it was kind of exhausting for a minute. So I had to switch my energy on that and kind of and think like, okay, I'm gonna see if I got an invitation and go from there. And then I'm curious because we all know I don't have that much energy. Like, well, I'm curious to see how it goes because I've got 3 different dates with 3 different guys this week, and that cannot happen long
your
term.
energy levels are going to change.
Right.
When you
So
meet them, there's going to be ones that are going to be like, whew,
yes.
and then there are going to be ones that are like, and then there's going to be in the middle. There's going to be someone that really like jacks up and you're going to just be like, oh, it's going to be, I'm like very excited to like live vicariously through you.
I'm glad you're excited.
I think you're going to have a lot of fun. I think I'm not going to sugarcoat things. You're going to go on dates with people
like, no, thank you, please. Have a good night.
You're going to show up and they're going to be drunk already. You're going to show up and they're going to be with their mom. You're going to show up and realize that you dated them before and you're fucking dating it. And they remembered and didn't say anything. Yeah, surprise. I remember that we tried this already. It didn't work out. I figured we'd try it again.
Oh my gosh.
So you thought I was just pretending? Oh yeah, I've been on some funky ass dates, but they're all very funny to remember.
Yeah.
And I was never in any like danger. And I don't feel like you will either because you're very smart.
Yeah. I'm just curious to get in aura and see what happens with that. And
I'm so excited to hear when you tell them about human design. It probably won't be a first date conversation, but when you two tell somebody about it and they're like, I want to.
Yeah, that's gonna be the hard part, like not just sitting down and be like, okay, I need your birth information, like up front. We need to know what we're working with.
Oh yeah, I was gonna ask you, like, do you want that information? Or
I mean, yes, because it's me, but I'm also
Yes, 'cause it's me. Yeah, your first line's like, did you just say, do I want
yeah.
information? Let's see.
Like, yes, that will happen. But I'm also letting it come up organically
I like that.
and, and let it move through. I feel like that'll be a big sign for me when they're asking about it.
Yeah. And I also
Um,
think that it can, with people like you and I who are really good at reading charts, excuse me, you might get some preconceived notions if you see it, you know?
yeah, that's the other thing. Like, I don't
You
want
don't want to be
to.
like, oh God, this is a 9 center in MG. That's a 5-2. And none of these things are bad. It's just a lot.
Yeah, it's just
um,
like, can I spend my life with this much energy? I don't know. Like,
yeah.
let's.
And to do that before you like even know the person, this is another,
Yeah,
this is another good thing should talk about as like a hot topics thing. There's a lot of memes or a lot of things that are swirl around with like you get their birth information right away, like know their chart, their astrology immediately right away. What does that put in your mind about that
yeah.
person?
Like, what are you looking for? It's like we talked about before. Okay, so for example, like I have gate 6, right? And so the 659, the channel sexuality, a lot of people put that on stuff. And so if
Yeah.
it's like I look and they have 59, then it's like automatically, am I going to act like, well, this is a match? Like, we don't know. That
Or if
could
they
also
don't, well, you don't like.
be right. Like, there's other things. So yeah, I don't want to have the things is like I want to know the person and then look at
I
their
think
user
that's a
manual.
great idea. I think this information is vital to have when you are in a relationship with another person, to understand them and to further your relationship and to be compassionate and loving and la di da. Same with astrology, all that stuff. But to have it at the very beginning before you even know the person a little bit it's like there's just, it's just like you said, there's why, like what's the point? You're looking
Yeah.
for things to create a match or to create a no match or whatever, even if you're not trying to do that. Like if you know enough about human design or astrology or any of those things, unconsciously you're gonna do that because that's what we do.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And I mean, let's face it, I'm going to be building their design in my mind as they
Oh
speak.
my God.
So
That's the other thing. I can't wait for you to be like, so this is what I thought they were, and this is what they
yeah.
actually were.
Yeah.
Because it could go either way depending on that person's conditioning, really. Like
Yeah.
they can come off as an MG and really be a projector who's just like, you know, with a root center with like a defined root maybe or something that's like,
Yeah.
ooh, or you could guess and be like spot on. Like it would be, it's gonna be funny.
Yeah, it'll be fun. Well, and it's interesting too, because like I think a couple guys had texted or messaged and they're like, so what have you been doing today? And I'll just mention like a couple things. I'm like, oh, you're really productive. Like, am I? Like, I also feel like I've really been prioritizing rest lately. I'm like, well, I also took a nap and did these other things. Like, and I guess anyway, it's because they don't really know, but it was interesting for me because that used to be a big shadow for me. Like I would have to be productive every day
Mhm.
in order to, feel worthy and valuable and like I did anything. But then it's also like a projector thing. It's like, oh no, I just did all this stuff. Like it was pretty easy. I figured out how to do it efficiently.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So it wasn't that big of a deal. But it just made me think, like, I wonder how they are perceiving me.
Hmm.
It's gonna be interesting, but I
Yeah.
feel like I'm pretty proud of myself so far. I mean, it's only been a week, but I haven't like switched myself in order to be more likable somehow. I feel like I've been showing up exactly as me. And
That becomes a lot easier to do the older that you get. It just becomes
yes,
too hard to not be yourself.
yes, well, especially as much as I know now, like as far as I am into my experiment, I think
Yeah.
there's no
And if you're
going
looking for
back.
a relationship, it's like, well, do I want to have to do this the whole time I'm around this person? I mean, obviously there's things you learn about yourself as you go further in a relationship and you're like, oh, I didn't know that about you. And then it's not like the person's hiding anything. It's just as you get to know somebody more and more. But I love the fact
Yeah,
that you're like, look, this is what it is. And like you'll be able to
yeah,
show, like if you get farther and farther into a relationship, you'll be able to be like, hey, energetically, this is what I need and don't need, and PS it's inconsistent and all this other stuff.
Yeah. Well, I mean, my MO in the past was to like figure out who this person wanted and figure out how to make myself into some likable version of that so that they would want me.
Yeah, I was the same.
Then I would never just be myself because I didn't know who that was. So,
That was
So-
had a lot to do with my mom being like, you just do what you just are easily influenced by other people and blah blah. So whenever I would do that, I would get mad at myself. I'm like, you can't do this because, but it wasn't for the right reason. It wasn't like you can't do this because it's much easier and better for you to show your true self. It was more, you can't do this because you can't be influenced by this person. Like being influenced by another person was like terrible to me. It was like a horrible thing, which is so silly because we are constantly influenced by other people all day, every day,
Right.
all lives.
Right. That's just
And to
part
like
of being
try to
alive.
battle that and go, no, you won't, and you won't, and you won't. And I can understand how I want to do that as a 3/6, wanting to like walk my own individual path and not like really do what other people are doing. It does. I do immediately, like when we were talking about TikTok, I was like, no. When we talk about other things, I'm like, I'm not going to do that. All you guys are doing that. I'm not doing that. And
Yeah.
I still do that. But I think it's mostly because of the 6th line is like, no.
Yeah.
I don't like
we
you.
don't
I
have
don't
the
like
energy
this.
for that. So
Yeah. Yeah, basically. So yeah, this has been awesome. And I'm so excited because we'll plop these in as a series very inconsistently. You know how we work. And you'll talk about what you want to talk about. And if people have questions or comments or anything, they can throw those in too.
yeah.
Just be nice, people. Okay. There's ways to say everything you want to say in a nice, kind, respectful manner, I promise.
Yes.
But yeah, this will be really cool. And I do think it, like you said, this will probably be helpful for you to just be able to do like this isn't soundboarding. I don't know what we would call it, but sharing, maybe just sharing.
Yeah, because it gets easier for me to talk about because literally, I think I was telling you this before we recorded. I I like couldn't do it when I first started. I was with a friend and I was like, I'm gonna throw up. Like, but I just kept doing this. I was like, and I wasn't really. It was just like all the it was like a emotional release where I'm like everything's fluttering around in my gut. I'm like, this is like so vulnerable and scary. And so I had to have my friend like next to me to do it. And I'm feeling better about it now, but even a couple days ago,
telling you you're supposed to feel a certain way about things, and you're like, well, what if I don't feel that way? Or like,
no, it's just all the trauma from the past. I'm like, my 3-line, like the biggest story I have about myself right now is that I make all the wrong decisions when it comes to relationships, and I'm a 3-line, so I'm going to mess it up anyway. So why would I ruin somebody's life by introducing them to me? So,
whoa,
yeah.
I never thought of it like that.
Yeah. So it's that.
So it's that. Well, I don't think, I agree that as the 3rd line, it is hard sometimes to look at anything and go, how am I supposed to start this when I know I'll probably mess some things up, but that was going to happen anyway. Like, regardless if you knew you were a 3rd line or not, you're going to go in this relationship and do things that you consider messing up.
Well, I mean, that's just my story that's keeping me safe right now. Like, that's not what I actually believe. Like, I see the beauty of the 3-line now, where I realize, like, when I look back, it pissed off my ex-husband, like, because he's like, everything's fine. He's a 2-4 generator. He's like, we're chill. What's the big deal? And I'm like, well, we need to do this to get more intimate and to get like have a deeper relationship. And so like I know that's what I need. Like it's just constantly going to be growth. And so I need somebody who's going to be cool with that and like grow with me and not get mad at me for moving in. But it's just I'm like I'm 41 years old and I'm single, so obviously I'm terrible at this. Like that's the big story that I'm just working through.
You're just very discerning.
Yeah.
So yeah, everybody come back and listen to Rebeka's journey, and we'll also be talking about other, human design stuff in there. We'll be having guests. Like, there's a lot going on over here.
There is, yeah. This will be a fun place. Come hang out with us.
Yeah. So
Chazzy won't be here for all of them though.
it's okay. This is a super special episode. So yeah. So thank you for sharing with us, and thank you in advance for allowing us to see this. This is really brave and cool and third line, and makes me very happy. So
thank you. And thank you for your encouragement. I got to say, like, you're a big part of me being brave enough to step forward in this. So thank you.
You're welcome, girl. All right. We'll talk to you guys later.
Love y'all. Bye.